This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Watch the greenbacks tumble.
You waiting for me? Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? Here we go. Your dial's set correctly to USAPrepares.com. We're broadcasting 2 hours daily from high atop the Missouri Ozark Mountains, Studio A. Information's on the website, and you may listen live to USAPrepares.com on a free application that you can get for your cell phone at GCNlive.com. Tom is engineering the broadcast, the worldwide broadcast at GCN in Minnesota. Converging threats are confronted daily by your instructors. I'm Vincent Finelli. Frank Underhill's with us, CEO of Underhill Securities in Las Vegas, Nevada. Welcome, Frank Underhill.
Good morning, Vincent. Glad to be here with you this morning.
Hey, Frank, Dr. Howard Shane stopped over during the weekend, and he looked at me, and he saw this growth on my face. And I said, well, it's getting close to that time where I'm required to, if I want to have a driver's license issued by the state of Missouri, I'm going to have my picture taken. So I am doing my best to cover up any facial recognition details that I may have. So I am growing a beard, Frank. You probably would not recognize me or think that I look pretty scruffy because I look like one of those, my skin with the stubble looks like one of those Hollywood actors, one of those young guys trying to look macho. That's not why I'm doing it, class. I'm doing it because I don't want them to have any more information about me. So I'm growing my beard, and I'm going to go to get my picture taken with a walker. I have a walker, and I'm going to use it that day, and I am going to be hunched over. I'm going to be maybe a foot shorter because I'm going to be hunched over on this walker, and I'm going to try to look up at the camera. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it from being hunched over. And so there you have it. I'm going to contort my face. I'm going to squint my eyes. I'm going to be hunched over. I'm going to do everything I can to help them. Oh, jeez. I can't believe it, Frank. Facial recognition. These people who run the Department of Revenue in Missouri have given our facial recognition pictures to the federal government. They've given them. And those guys have not been jailed yet. The people who worked at the top and every minion that they have who took the pictures should be in court being prosecuted for violating the public trust. But yet, they're not. They're not. And it looks like they're going to get away with it. I mean, we had some resignations at the top level of the Department of Revenue. But a resignation, just losing your job, is not enough for breaching the public trust. I think a minimum of 10 years in jail, Class A felony, would be a good start. But it's really not enough. Frank, does that bother you that pictures of us that we thought were being used just for Missouri purposes for the issuance of a driver's license with these facial recognition cameras have been
this is why I don't like to go out. I think I mentioned on earlier programs that I just stay away primarily from a lot of places. That includes now hotels and casinos here. strip malls, because now they have police cars that go by and take instant scans of everybody's license plates and run them through a data system so they know where you are.
Yeah. Yep. They know exactly they know who the car is registered to. They know where the car is with their GPS, and they know the time. So they can pretty much figure out if it's your car, it's probably you. Not necessarily, but probably. They know where and they know when.
Yeah, now if I go to the Smiths, whose damn business is it to know if I'm going in there to buy some fried chicken for take-home?
Mm-hmm.
It's absurd.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, Frank,
listeners, just stay home. Don't even stay out of that game.
Yeah, and I keep thinking about the meetup, and to me, it's a risk every time I go to the meetup. I'm fully. I have to take a different direction, different path every time I go to the meetup, because I know that one of these gauntlets, and I've been through several of these gauntlets where the police are on every part of the intersection, even on the back roads now, where they're stopping us and they want license and registration. And I try to help them. I get, of course, I get very confused. And when they ask me all these questions, and it takes me a long time to find my documents and so forth. But, I'm trying to gum up the works, and I'm trying to teach people that cooperate, but, you don't have to do it in a hurry. I mean, after all, they supposedly, or they used to work for us. I met with our county sheriff last week. I went to get my concealed carry permit renewed, and Mrs. Finelli got hers renewed, and the sheriff was in the front office there in the county courthouse. And I asked him, point blank, I said, Sheriff, when these guys show up at my house, these three-letter agencies, when they show up, are you going to stand between me and them and tell them to take a hike? And he looked at me and he said, are you doing something that would cause them to come on over? And I said, no. But I talk about things that they might decide to come over and visit me because of the things I talk about. And he said, I'll be there. So isn't that great? My sheriff is going to come and stand between me and those three-letter agencies. So there you have it. I'm pretty excited about that. So I'm going to support my sheriff. As long as he does the right thing, I'm going to support him. So I'm glad to hear that he is going to stand between us and those federal agencies that want to come and bash our door down. And a little later in this broadcast, Frank, I'd like to talk about a TV series that someone has given me the DVD set to watch called Flashpoint. And a little later we can talk about Flashpoint and my reaction to that. But so I'm doing my part to change my appearance by covering up as much of my face as possible as I get closer to having my driver's license picture taken. And I might even get a wig. I had a haircut a long time ago that was the same type of hairstyle that Michael Landon wore on Little House on the Prairie. And so because I had that hairstyle previously, it works for me. So I can get a wig that kind of looks like that, and I'll just pop that on my head also. So I'll have the beard, as much facial hair as I can grow. Howard suggested that I get some earrings, and kind of adorn myself a little bit like Mr. T. And look completely out of my current character. So, and then, of course, you look at the actors and the actresses. What are they wearing when they go around town? They've got big, large, oversized, triple-sized sunglasses on, and they have hats covering up their hair, or they if they're ladies, they stuff their hair under their hats, or they wear cowboy hats. And I think it's because they need to, Frank. I don't think it's because they want to look ridiculous. I think it's because they feel that they have a little bit more privacy by doing that. Do you see people walking around Las Vegas looking like that?
For the most part, a lot of people here wear less revealing clothing, actually. They should dress like the way what you're talking about. People, it's a different planet here, Vincent.
So you're saying they expose more of their skin? Is that what you're saying?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, that's not going to work for me because
people want to show off. They want attention. They probably obviously lack it at home or at work, so they come here and most often than not they get the attention of law enforcement, doing a stop and frisk, and next thing you know, it opens a whole can of worms up.
Yeah. Frank, I've seen those, you mentioned those license plate scanners. I have seen those scanners here in Missouri. They're mounted on top of the vehicles.
Yeah.
And they can read 360 degrees license plates. And they've got a computer attached to them that can very, very quickly scan many license plates per minute and determine whether your license plates are out of, or have expired, or whether your registration attached to those license plates has expired. And it's like a revenue hunt. And so they can just drive along. They don't even have to look. The computer's going to look for them. And they're going to scan your license plates. And they're going to pull you over. If they get a red flag that says you are driving with expired registration or tags, or even, I'm sure it's tied to your license. Frank, when I was in Virginia at the state fair back in 1993, down the hall from my class's exhibit, my class was asked to represent the state or the Commonwealth of Virginia for 11 days at the state fair because they thought we were the epitome of how education should be in the Commonwealth of Virginia, my computer class. And down the hall from us, I spent 11 days there, and here's why I'm telling you this. I got a chance to see NASA, and I got a chance to see state police. They had an exhibit there. And I got to see what happens when they key in a tag number or a social security number on the screen. They would only let me see like the first screen. So what came up, and this is 1993, 20 years ago. They could key in a tag number. Now they can do it automatically. It brings up 3 screens back then. And there was all the information a person could ever want to know about an individual. It immediately brought up that I had a concealed carry permit. Okay, so when the police pull you over, they already know that you have a concealed carry permit. They already know that you probably have a gun in the car if you have a concealed carry permit. And the rest of the information was 3 pages. Now imagine if you had a record. Holy smokes. They would know everything about you just as they pull you over. So if you think that they're in the dark, they're not in the dark. They know. We'll be right back. Frank, malls are now tracking us by our cell phones. I thought I'd mention this since you brought it up. They're tracking us by our cell phones, and they're looking for the Wi-Fi signals from our Wi-Fi cards inside embedded in our telephones, our cell phones. So each cell phone that has the Wi-Fi capability has a MAC card. It's called a Media Access Control address, and the MAC address is unique to each cell phone or each computer device. So the way this works is as you walk around, your phone may be searching for a Wi-Fi signal in the store. Well, they know they can get the unique MAC address, they capture that, and they can follow you around the store and find out where you spend your time. And they can find out how frequently you visit that store and how frequently you visit the other stores. And if you want, you can opt out. You can go to one of the manufacturers of this software, and you go to their website, and you can key in your MAC address, if you knew what it was, and opt out. But then you're telling them who you are. So no matter how you do it, unless you turn off your Wi-Fi on your phone, they're able to follow you around. And I remember, Frank, about a year ago during Black Friday, I heard about this, and I exposed this, and I called the company that was called Footpath. I called them up, and I told them that we were going to talk about it on the air. I know our side of the story. What's their side? And would they like to be on the air with me? And they declined. So we talked about it. We gave out their phone number. We hammered them, and they shut down their system. But here it is, a year later, back. and it's being deployed. So that bothers me, Frank, and I imagine where you live, it's probably in the casinos, it's probably everywhere.
That's correct, and the surveillance is so great where, what's the point in going out? Because when you do surveillance, it says you do not trust people.
Right, right.
So why would you want to go somewhere where you're not trusted?
That's really a good point, Frank. I don't want to go places. I complain all the way through the Chinese factory outlet when I have to pick up something that's not available someplace else. And, I complain if I'm with Mrs. Finelli. She hears me complaining about having to be in the Chinese factory outlet. I just despise it. And I can see in the very near future how they're going to know who we are as we enter the store. They're going to know who we are. So it's time to get a cowboy hat with a bigger brim, bigger sunglasses, and keep my beard on and wear my Michael Landon wig.
Vincent, and to your listeners, I don't mind having, surveillance camera for, for protection, from robbery to identify or theft protection from shoplifters and employees, a sort alike. But when they start doing it to data mine, record spending habits, record times you go, record this and record that, it's like you are nothing but a digital bite, basically. And it has just gotten so out of hand that we're not trusted, and just stay home. Period.
In fact, I don't know if I've mentioned it to you, but I used to be a computer jockey back in the 1980s for three of the largest credit card banks in the country, and we had a vice president, a senior vice president in marketing. And he was talking about building a system that would track our credit card customers by the kinds of purchases they made. And so we were going to track each customer, where he or she went, when they went, what they bought. And then we would target those customers. I'm using the word target deliberately because that's what it was. We were targeting them for credit card offers depending on what their shopping habits were. And if you notice, if you search the internet today, if you're looking for a wood stove and you do a search on a wood stove, and then you do some other, or visit some other websites, then you see ads for wood stoves or tire companies. I mean, the tire rack pops up all the time on my PC when I visit websites, all different kinds of websites. Is that because I buy tires at the tire rack? I think so. So they know what my shopping habits are. They know where I go, and now I have to wear a disguise. Frank Underhill, CEO of Underhill Securities. I'm Vincent Finelli. We'll be right back. Frank Underhill's with us. And Frank, I have a post on the website. It's a little over a year old, but I thought it was noteworthy. There's a six-legged baby boy born in Pakistan. Now, we've heard of six-legged horses. We've heard of eight-legged horses. We've heard on this broadcast, we've heard of two-headed cows. We've all heard about Siamese twins. But a child being born with 8 legs is something that's very, very unusual. The reason I'm bringing this up, and even though it's an old story, the mother of this child is an X-ray technician. Now, for those of you in the medical field who are involved in X-rays, I'd like to suggest, I can't prove this, but I'd like to suggest that this baby's deformity could be caused by X radiation. So if you're in the medical field, or if you are doing something where you're exposed to X-rays, even in the dental community, I suggest you be very, very, very careful. Okay? Because this happened. A 6-legged baby boy. If you want to see the picture, You can go to usaprepares.com, page 1. 6-legged baby boy born in Pakistan. His mother is an X-ray technician. Frank, gold and silver. Had a chart. Let's see. All right, I'll start with silver. At the high of this year, it looks like in January and through part of February of 2013, silver had reached $32 an ounce. And then it fell, looks like around July, to just above $18 an ounce. And it climbed up to about a little over $24 an ounce, almost $25. And now we're back down to the current price of $22.30. What do you think's happening, Frank? I didn't sell any of mine, so I didn't have any losses nor gains. What do you think's happening?
Well, what I think has happened is this. The U.S. dollar, the NIBOT has broken 80. It's sitting here at 79.8 right now. This is, I think, very bullish for the metal, and I believe that if this continues to drift lower, this will only help the metal even more. As you see with the dollar index below 80, you're seeing gold level here off at 1,300, 1,320 in that range. And I think with the dollar in a holding pattern, if not a weakening here, this will only bode well for metal. And I would just be patient and see where this plays out. But you're not seeing that big rush to the dollar when it was 83, 84, 85, and it looked like there's no lid on it. But now it has appeared to have tapered somewhat. And of course, like I was saying on earlier programs, the euro is up, the Canadian dollar, Australian dollar, the pound are up against the dollar as well. So there are foreign currencies that are moving ahead of the dollar. So this as well is very conducive for silver and gold.
Frank, I look at the U.S. debt ceiling, as it's referred to, and from my perspective, that it seems that politicians will continue to raise it again and again and again, because if they don't raise it, there will be no funding for the interest to pay the debt. So they have to keep raising the debt ceiling, because if they stop raising the debt ceiling, the financial system of the United States will collapse. And I don't believe that any politician would want to see the collapse on his or her watch. So if you look at the debt ceiling increasing, you look at the increase in the amount of currency in circulation, as it increases, it is absolutely inflationary, which means that the cost of tangible goods, tangible assets, will continue to ever increase in the amount of digits that you have to pay for them. Absolutely will be on the overall increase until the collapse. Is there something wrong with my logic there, Frank?
Not at all. And I think a lot of people out there think like this, and you're probably also in good company with, Mark Faber and Soros and alike. They do believe that nothing is sustainable, and how long can this be sustainable? And, there's, Dr. Doom himself, the late Henry Coffin, that believed in this as well. And I think what you're seeing is what is played out. And really, can I just, with all due, Vincent, things have not gotten better. Unemployment is still anemic. The deficit, they say it's going down, but I don't see how that's going to help interest rates when interest rates are already low anyway. So, there's not a big rush for people to go and buy anything, and the big credit spree And they talk about the housing in my state has like gone up, but I don't know anyone who's bought a house, so I don't know where they contrive these facts and figures from.
Frank, did you say that unemployment is getting better? Is that what you're saying?
No, it's plateaued. And I don't believe those numbers you see at 7% unemployment or whatever the figure du jour is. But I will say that things are still very, very. If anything, I think people are so used to it, and I think it's even gotten probably even worse.
Well, I've got a number in front of me, Frank. I'm glad you mentioned this. I was reading a report that just before the broadcast this morning, that 15% of young people in this country that are not in school are not in work. So 15% of our young people are both not in school and they're not working. Now, how old would that be? That'd be ages of 16 to 24 years old, not working. So we've got some, high school dropouts, but they're not working. They're not learning. They're not behind the desk. They're not at the factory. They're not at wherever they might be working. They're not there. So we have a lack of apprenticeship. We have a lack of the continuation of skills. We have people who have idle time on their hands. Now, what in the heck are they going to do for their awake hours 7 days a week with no money, no job, no school to go to? The outlook is dim. The future is not bright. What are they going to do? I think that's the devil's workshop. I think, as the term I heard when I was, idle time is the devil's workshop, meaning there's not much left for them to do except hang around and get into trouble because they have nothing but time to spend. They have no money. And the rug's been pulled out from under them. There's no job for them. Our politicians have destroyed commerce in this country. They have shipped our jobs to every country outside our border. The young people that I'm describing, I hate to say it, but they're doomed. How can they possibly succeed in a system that has no place for them to go?
Well, what you're saying is you're saying also is the price of education is a lot higher. And
it doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be, Frank. The price of education does not need to be higher.
Right, it doesn't need to be, but you have all these for-profit online campuses. I've never gone on their websites or anything, but I think you, Vincent, you worked at a university. You got to have students in the classroom. Period. I don't know how anybody learns anything behind a computer screen and then print off your doctorate degree off the printer. It's new to me. However, you have to have people in school. Too many young people are more interested in dropping out in grade 10 and being a busboy at a casino. Mm. And I just want to, reiterate, I worked in lodging myself as a teenager in the summers, but it was only for a summer job. Make some money, buy what you wanted to do. Today, you're seeing these same kind of jobs that are full-time, same people, the same housekeeper at the same hotel for 16 to 20, 30 years. There's no impetus for anyone to do better except work in this hotel for the minimum wage and whatever benefits they do get. And and I want to go back to the summer job. Well, what about that co-ed that wants to work at a hotel and get some experience, or work in a restaurant and get some experience, be there for, a month or two, and then go back to college? That person can't get a summer job, and they're usually young people.
I had a job when I was in high school. I took a part-time job working at a Howard Johnson's motel. And what I learned was, after one day that's all I needed to do to learn everything I wanted to know about working in a motel. I think I was in charge of scrubbing the track that the sliding doors ride on. I think I was in charge of doing that. It was a horrible experience. I mean, it was dirty. It was menial. It was on my knees, bent over. 8 hours of that was all I wanted to learn about working at a motel. I mean, maybe there's something more to look forward to, like vacuuming the carpets, maybe working in the laundry department. Not being an owner of a motel, it's not for me. It's not for me. Frank Underhill, Vin Finelli, USAPrepares.com. We'll be right back. Frank Underhill's with us. Frank Underhill, he's the CEO of UnderhillSecurities.com. UnderhillSecurities.com. And second hour, I'm going to give you his phone number. If you'd like to contact him, you certainly may. Frank, it's time for a community service announcement. There's an autistic child, a 13-year-old, who was suspended from school indefinitely for drawing what this post says was a cartoon bomb. Now, this is an autistic child. He drew on a piece of paper what they're calling a bomb. So, swift and immediate punishment was meted out to this young man, this child, 13-year-old, in Greenville County, South Carolina. Superintendent, who's in charge of ejecting this young man from education, is W. Burke Royster. W. period. Burke, B-U-R-K-E, last name Royster, R-O-Y-S-T-E-R. He's the superintendent of Greenville County Schools in Greenville, South Carolina. Now, I've posted his direct phone number on the website, usaprepares.com. The name of the post is Autistic Child Suspended for Drawing Cartoon Bomb. If this bothers you, please call W. Burke Royster, 864-355-8860, Superintendent, Greenville County Schools, South Carolina. So this young person was suspended because he drew a picture of what they call a bomb. Now, it's nonviolent, absolutely nonviolent. When I was a child, we drew pictures of guns and bombs and war and all kinds of things like that. We even had sword fights with sticks, and we pointed our fingers at each other as if they were guns. We had cap guns, we had BB guns, and none of us was thrown out of school for even anything close to that. Okay, so this young man is an autistic person. He's a child. He didn't do anything that anyone else might not have done, and they threw him out of school. For how long? Indefinitely. Frank, do you have a reaction to that?
Yeah, well, I do, and the reaction is this. I thought a state like South Carolina would be thrilled that there's someone who's doing this, whether they got autism or not. At least the kid knows what they are, and to throw them out, I think it's ridiculous. Not like he drew a swastika or a Ku Klux Klan effigy or anything, and it tells you where this political correctness has just gotten way overboard, and a autistic or dyslexic or a kid, they only imitate their environment. Children, they come home to parents, and they act out in school. They're thinking they're doing the right thing. And I think that this South Carolina school district is way out of line for taking this kind of approach to dealing with a child, and it's really, it's just the things have just gotten so over the top And it's okay for a guy to have an affair and run for Congress and get in, but it's not okay for a guy for a child to make drawings. And as you said about when you were a kid, Vincent, when I was a kid, that movie Apocalypse Now came out, and all I could think of was drawing Huey Hoggs, and no one ever kicked me out of a classroom for doing it.
Well, Frank, if we had a camera on me right now, right behind me, if the camera were looking at my face, right behind me in the studio is a photograph, 18 by 24 inches, a photograph, not a replica, a photograph from a colonel's office of the Hindenburg, LZ-129, taken at Lakehurst Naval Ammunition Station in New Jersey when it landed there, before it blew up. And there are two swastikas right on the tail. Now, what would somebody think if they saw that in a radio broadcasting studio? Two swastikas. Man, can you imagine if I had a job? Would I be fired? We'll be right back after top of the hour news and commercial announcements.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Watch the greenbacks tumble.
Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? Here we go, hour number 2 of USAPrepares.com. Frank Underhill's with us. And, we were talking last hour about this autistic child who was suspended for drawing a cartoon bomb in Greenville County, South Carolina. During the top of the hour news and commercial announcements, I called the number on the website that we're posting for the direct line to the superintendent's office in Greenville County, South Carolina. Can't get through. You cannot get through. Evidently, it's working. Evidently, there are enough of us who are ringing the alarm about the outrageous behavior of this particular superintendent and his school board and the principal of the Greenville County School, where Rhett Parham has been suspended. That's Hillcrest Middle School in Simpsonville, South Carolina. He was suspended, an autistic child, 13 years old, actually thrown out of school indefinitely for drawing a picture of a cartoon bomb. I think it's wonderful that this young person is actually drawing and learning something. So here we have the superintendent who has thrown this young person out of school indefinitely. So he's not going to get any education from the school system. As a matter of fact, though, there is some silver lining in this very dark cloud, Frank Underhill, and that is that he could be homeschooled and actually learn a lot more than he would in the public training camp. Boy, it makes me furious. Let me give out the number. If you'd like to call this superintendent and tell him what you think, first go to the website, usaprepares.com. You can read the article. Then call 864-355-8860. 864-355-8860. The superintendent's name is Burke Royster, Burkeroyster, Superintendent of Schools, Greenville County, South Carolina. Frank, it just makes my blood boil thinking about it.
Well, Vincent, you have a lot of interesting stories on your website, and I implore people to visit it and just read the articles you have. That they'll probably be of interest to a lot of people. And, that story being one of them. And, the child can be homeschooled. And why doesn't the superintendent in South Carolina, heck, you might as well just send everybody home. Send home all the teachers, send home all the students, close down and save the people in the state the agony and grief of stories like that. No question about it.
I'll tell you what.
I thought South Carolina would be the first state against teachers and education, anyways.
Frank, I have a proposal. Okay, this young man drew a picture of a bomb, and he gets expelled. Now, they say he's suspended, but suspended indefinitely means expelled, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
So how about this? Now, these high schools, in high schools all over the country, allow the military to come in to recruit people to be targets. They say, would you like to travel the world? Would you like to see foreign places? You'll get an all-expense-paid trip all over the world. You can be a Marine. You can be in the Navy. You can be in the Air Force. You can be in the United States Army. And you can serve your country. What they forget to tell these young people is that they will have targets on their front, their sides, their backs. They will be potentially shot at, maimed, wounded, maybe even killed. Okay? Now, these superintendents are allowing that to happen in their school system. That's okay. It's okay to recruit people to get in harm's way. It's okay to recruit people and put them in harm's way. But it's not okay to draw a picture of a bomb when you're an autistic child. A cartoon bomb. Please. We've lost our minds. We have lost our minds. War. I had a discussion with one of our instructors. He says that, killing someone in war is not murder. To me, it's murder. When you point a firearm at a person you don't even know because some guy behind you tells you, if you don't start shooting at them over there, we're going to put you in the brig. Follow orders and go kill those people.
Well, Vincent,
if that's not murder, I don't know what murder is.
Well, you think almost people have lost their mind on a conservative website. It shows a guy petitioning people to support a Nazi Orwellian regime, and he's getting people to actually sign the roster. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. People have really lost their minds.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, we've lost our minds to the point right now where we're going to be introducing a new instructor on Friday. I
love it. Carry on.
Frank, Aaron Brummett is going to be, let me just check the calendar 1 second. Okay, class, I keep a physical.
We really lost our minds in you, instructor, on Friday.
On Friday, Aaron Brummett is going to be with us. Now, Aaron Brummett is a pastor. He's a street preacher in Springfield, Missouri. Now, this guy has been arrested. He's been arrested, hauled off to the clink because he was preaching from the street. Now, the story that I've heard is Aaron Brummett was preaching from the street, and he was disturbing the peace. He was disturbing the peace. Now, what was the peace? Well, there was a jazz concert nearby. So he's preaching. Now, this jazz concert in the public square, right? Downtown Springfield is going on. Now, this guy's preaching, and he's disturbing the peace. Now, what about the jazz concert that's going on? Isn't that disturbing the peace? Actually, what happened is the jazz concert paid a fee to disturb the peace. And Aaron Brummett did not, as far as I can tell, did not pay a fee to disturb the peace. So he got arrested. Now, imagine what would happen at the jazz concert. Do you think they would haul a jazz concert away from the square for not paying a fee? I don't think so. I think this guy just preaching about Jesus and the Lord and those kinds of things got him ultimately arrested. So now this guy has a record, and he's going to be on. I mean, he's perfect material for instructional faculty at usaprepares.com. He passed the test. He was arrested for disturbing the peace. That's Friday at 9 o'clock. Pastor Aaron Brummett. I can't believe it that they arrested him. I don't know him. I just read about him, and you can just type in his name on a search engine. You'll find him. Aaron, Aaron, Brummitt. Brummitt. Soon to be the newest usaprepares.com instructor. Frank, we're losing our minds And then, let's see, tomorrow morning, Eric Lancaster, Senior Vice President of Terraganics, is going to be with us. He's going to talk about abating and having those nasty pet odors go away with using microbes to eat the pet odors. Oh, by the way, Frank, meetup tonight. Dr. Judy Wood is going to be with us at the meetup tonight. She's going to be doing a live teleseminar. The last time she did one was last Monday. Last Monday, it ran for 3 hours. We only got halfway through it. And it's where did the towers go? I'm talking about 9/11, World Trade Center towers. Where did they go? They turned to dust. And she's going to explain what happened, why it happened, who did it, and she's going to answer our questions. So that's tonight. You can arrive at 5:30 Ziggy's, Springfield, Missouri, corner of Sunshine and Glenstone. I will be there if I don't get arrested on the way in. Frank, what's happening with the police in your neck of the woods?
Well, obviously they're not doing their job. But this morning at 6 a.m. we're talking about surveillance and security and police. Another shooting at 6 a.m. at a strip nightclub. I have no idea why they want to bring these people in. Like, I have a client, acquaintance in Kentucky, and he said nothing good happens after midnight, and that's a good guideline to live by. Here you have at 6 in the morning, people at a night spot drinking alcohol or partying or philandering, and then gunfire erupts. And this is in a public place. I say shut these places down, period. They do people harm, and people shouldn't even be going to these places anyways. And there's the police chief here wants the county commissioners to raise taxes to hire more cops. Well, this sheriff is involved in 3 or 4 or 5, whatever, police shootings, and already the county's cutting the check in the hundreds of thousands, the high hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, to settle lawsuits, and yet he wants to raise taxes so the public can pay for the misdeeds of their law enforcement. And these people who are killed, can I just say with all due, Vincent, these are people that are unarmed. They've just wrong place, wrong time. They get out of their car or they stick their head out the window and they walk into a police firing squad, basically.
Wow, you just hit my button, Frank. Mrs. Finelli and I have been watching a DVD series called Flashpoint. And Flashpoint, I refer to it as Killer Cops. And I'll say to Mrs. Finelli, do you have time this evening? Let's watch another episode of Killer Cops. And it's a 2008 television series. I believe it was shot in Canada. And I also believe what happens is people call 911, and then this SWAT team arrives. They refer to it by a different name, but it's a SWAT team. They've got their trucks, and we'll talk about it when we come back. And I believe we've got a caller on the line. We'll see what's going on with that. And Frank Underhill and I will be right back, right after these few short commercial announcements. Frank Underhill's with us, and we're going to take a short diversion. Rue in Tennessee, you're with Frank Underhill and me, Vincent Finelli.
Thank you, gentlemen. I have one quick comment and then one question. The quick comment is you're absolutely correct as far as the indoctrination. Now, I can take it a step further than the indoctrination at the schools with the military. And that is, I have seen it at the video game stores. When they have a premiere of a video game, like Modern Warfare 3 or 4, the National Guard brought out their climbing tower. The Army brought out a tank, and the Navy was present there for nothing more at midnight premiere of a video game.
I thought you were going to say the Navy brought out a battleship, and the Air Force brought out the B-1 bomber. Yeah, you're right. You're right. And these young people think that climbing in a tank would be a really, really cool thing. And Rue, I'd like to share this with you. I have a friend who went to Annapolis, a young man, and he was in charge of determining the coordinates that a Navy gun would discharge. It's projectile, too. And I asked him, I said, you ever think about the carnage at the other end, when that shell lands and explodes? And he had to think about that. I have a feeling he was desensitized to the fact that he was going to rain down murder and mayhem at the end of a Navy gun from a ship far offshore that would ultimately explode in some foreign country, killing and blowing up all kinds of things and people and dismembering bodies and so forth. And what I'm saying is, you are absolutely correct that these video games were designed to desensitize young people so that they won't think that killing is killing. Because, heck, you can just hit the reset button if you didn't kill enough in the video game.
Correct, but the sheer fact that the recruiters were out there, and they're indoctrinating the little 9 and 10-year-olds, that their parents were stupid enough to let them stand in line. I mean, you have to understand, these kids get there at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and they will wait there until midnight so they can be the first in line to get the video game. That's how scary it is.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. The parents have failed in their responsibility. Rue, I can tell you that I was not the most popular guy in our family when I said that our children, when they were growing up, would not be allowed to have those video games. That would be kill them, shoot them up, blow them up. I would not allow our children to have any of those video games. So some of the relatives thought that, gee whiz, what an ogre. He won't allow his children to do that because, well, all the other children are. What's wrong with Vincent Finelli? Why won't he do it? And that is precisely right.
My question for your guest is, all right, I have done everything within my power. Both of mine have Facebook pages, but they're tied to my email. And so they're very, very limited on who they are allowed to contact, who they're allowed to friend. I'm looking for every way to limit the access or identifying, as you guys were talking at the beginning of the show, to protect their identity. And what is your opinion of this LifeLock identity protection? Because I get mixed reviews. Because I refuse to put down their Social Security number on any paperwork at all, period.
Well, I don't trust, well, here goes a potential sponsor. I don't trust my Social Security number nor my information to any third party unless I absolutely, positively have to. As a matter of fact, I went to a factory outlet where I bought a hoodie. That's the current term for them. We call them jerseys. And they're like a sweatshirt with a zipper. And I paid for it with my credit card, and the name on my credit card is Anthony Soprano. And the girl remembered me from last year, and she said, Pam Anderson was just in here. Here's the point. Hold that line, Rue, and I'll tell you when we come back why it's important to do what I suggest we do. Frank Underhill, we'll be right back. Rue's with us, and Rue, I was saying that I use a series of credit cards that don't have my name on them. They are my account. It's perfectly legal, and it's catching on. And I have, I'll tell you one of the names, and I've said this publicly. Anthony Soprano is on on the face of one of my credit cards. So I have no problem using my credit card for the most part. Every once in a while, a store will say to me, I need to see your ID, and I'll go, I can't do it. I can't do it. And that's all I say. I can't do it. And eventually they say, okay, I'm sure it's you. So they'll accept my credit card. So to be anonymous as best I can, I have credit cards not in my name. I have, you can buy debit cards. You can pay cash with them and buy debit cards in any name that you want. You can go to Roy Birdsong's Choose Your Own Wireless. He's on page 1 of the website, USA Prepares. You can get a cell phone that is in a name that is not yours. Marilyn Monroe is very popular in Springfield. He said a couple days ago that there are at least 15 to 20 Marilyn Monroes running around Springfield, Missouri, and the Ozarks that have cell phones that are anonymous. So you can do those things. I have a mailbox in front of the farm. It does not have our name on it, but I am considering putting a name on it. I was thinking about Orez, O-R-E-Z. That's 0 spelled backwards. So, you can do those things if you'd like. And more individuals are using tactics to become as anonymous as possible. I would stay away from revealing anything on Facebook that really ties to who you are. If you go to my Facebook account, it lists the city that I don't live in. It lists an education. It lists the education that I have. It just says I have an MBA, but it doesn't say where. Or if it does, it's from the wrong place. So I do everything I can to remain as anonymous as possible. Now, Frank uses cash. Frank, what are your thoughts?
I always stick with that rule. I don't have any credit cards or any where I need to put my Social Security number out. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in the exposure that people get when people are victims of credit fraud or mail, whatever. As you hear in every single ad, or no fault of your own, or if you're not at fault, or it's your fault. Well, get out of the fault and just stay away and avoid altogether. And there is no fault. Just run. Keep away.
Yeah, I went to open up a secondary savings account, and this is at a credit union. And she said, "Sign here, sign here, sign here." I said, "What am I signing?" I said, "Can you print off what I'm signing?" It ended up being 51 pages for me to open up a savings account.
Well,
at a credit union.
Rue, let me address that, and I'll even name the bank. There's a bank nearby, within 20 minutes. It's probably the closest bank to my farm. It's 20 miles away, 20 minutes. And I went to open up a secondary account at this bank. It was U.S. Bank. And I said, I went in there and with Mrs. Finelli, and I introduced myself. I said, I've lived here a couple of years. I have an account at another bank in town, and I would like to open up just a savings account. Just a savings account. I'm not interested in borrowing money. I'm not interested in a checking account. I only want to open up a savings account. So I met the branch manager. I met all the employees. I was the only one there that day that was interested in doing anything with any kind of business with U.S. Bank. And they had me fill out a document, and then it was just a couple pages. And I had no problem with what they were asking at the time. This was many years ago. Then they said, where did you used to live? Would you put that down here on this form? And I said, why do you want to know that? They said, well, we want to get to know our customers. I said, look. And I turned kind of stern at that point. It was all happy until that point. And I said, look, I'm not borrowing money from you guys. I'm trusting you with my money, my digits. And if anybody should be worried, it should be me. I'm not telling you anything about where I used to live. It's none of your business. And I took the documents that I just signed, a couple pages, and I tore them up right then and there and walked out. So you don't have to do it. And, good for you. Don't do it. Don't put up with this nonsense. And by the way, you can always write on any contract, you can write under duress, where you sign your name, which means you are being pressured to do it. You really don't want to do it. So you're only signing it under duress. So if you ever have to go to court, you can say, I had no choice. I signed this under duress, which makes the contract null and void.
Okay, I appreciate that. And the last point that I wanted to make, the one video game that my son, I would rather have him playing some of the games that he has. But the one video game that he would play one time and ask me to return it is a video game that was supposed to coincide with the new Red Dawn. But the name of it is Homefront. And if you've not seen the trailer for that video game, you can YouTube it. It's about 2 years old. It is one of the most terrifying things. And it's a pre-prediction of what may actually happen in this country. He played it one time. He said, Mom, I will never touch this game again.
How old is he?
He will be 17 soon, but he was about 15 then. I didn't want him to have it in the first place. His dad bought it for him.
How about this?
But
how about no video games? Is there any reason at all to have a video game that has shooting and killing and murder and mayhem? Is there any reason at all?
No, there isn't, but the fascination of the Xbox 360. Yeah, my kid is not is the ability to be able to speak to one another. He's spoken to kids from all over the world.
Yeah. How about to your next door neighbor? Has he spoken with him or her?
Well, unfortunately, we don't live in an area where we have neighbors. We live far enough out. We don't have neighbors.
Okay, well, I live pretty far out, too. The town I live in has 100 people in the town, and I actually live outside the town. So there aren't even 100 people, on the entire 5-mile road that I live on. There aren't 100 people that live on that. But anyway, Ruth, thanks so much. Bottom line is, I don't think we need video games. I think we can get rid of them. And certainly, as the Christmas season is approaching, don't even think about buying video games for children. Michael from New York, you're on with Frank Underhill and me, Vin Finelli.
Good morning, Vincent. Good morning, Frank. When we were kids growing up, especially in the country, even if they had electronics back then, we wouldn't even waste our time. We were on the ball fields or in the woods playing all the time. Once in a blue moon, maybe some cowboys and Indians or, some G.I. Joe stuff that influences us from the old World War II movies, combat TV series, whatever. But most of the time, we're on the ball fields. By the time we were 12 years old, we were playing football. We had to get helmets and pads because we were killing each other. And these guys today, they're soft, and it's just very sad to see these young men don't even have a muscle on them by the time they're 15, 16. But and chess. Chess is the game. You want kids to play games while they're sitting at home? Chess. Make them think. And you'll outsmart these devils that are outsmarting us with chess moves as they manipulate us into their UN takeover, which brings me to the point. In the schools, as you were saying, Vincent, they want to recruit the kids, and isn't this a contradiction? Isn't this a hypocritical action on your part? You can't draw a gun image on a piece of paper, but you're ready to recruit these kids and draft and send them into wars. And the most important thing I would nail these people with is, and what about the UN? When you recruit these kids, are you telling them about the fact that they're not really fighting for the United States of America? They're going to be fighting for United Nations, and they're going to wear their emblem, and they're going to be sent around the world fighting for their agenda. And isn't that treason? Isn't that treason?
Sure sounds like it to me. Frank, Frank and I were talking about a video series called Flashpoint. Now, in that video series, it's a 2008 series where they have these SWAT-type cops Frank, could you back away from your microphone just a little bit, please? I can hear some noise. The SWAT cops answer these 911 calls, and what ensues is absolutely terrifying. They show up. The cops show up with battle dress on. They've got communications equipment. They've got helmets. They've got body armor. They've got assault weapons that. That's what they call them. If we had them, they'd be assault weapons. They have them. They have a couple snipers that are perched, ready to kill whatever their target is. They don't use the word Sniper 1 and Sniper 2. They don't use the word kill. They say, I have the solution. I have the solution. That's what we used to say when we had a math test. We would have the solution to the math problem. Well, when they have a solution, it involves murder. Now, isn't it murder when a sniper kills somebody? When they could, I mean, really, who in their right mind would call 911 and have a SWAT team show up with guns pointed at all kinds of civilians? Everybody around is a potential target to these guys. But anyway, here's what they do. In this video series, they portray these SWAT cops as humans, nice people with consciences, and they try to convince us that they're really good people, and they really try to do the right thing, and they have flashbacks. These guys are hired murderers by the government.
That's exactly what they are. So reminiscent of the SS Stormtroopers or the KGB operator, dressed in black, jackbooted.
There you go. Hey, Michael, thanks so much for being with us. Frank Underhill and I will be right back after these few short commercial announcements. This is USAPrepares.com. I'm reading the headlines. The first golfer said, he's talking about Obamacare. He says it's a good deal. It's exceeding expectations. Who's he kidding? Frank Underhill's with us. And let me give you Frank Underhill's phone number. If you'd like to call the CEO of UnderhillSecurities.com, 702-987-5449, 702-987-5449, UnderhillSecurities.com, Frank Underhill. Frank, I've got something I'd like to comment or propose. I have a bill. Now, this bill is actually a couple sentences. Normally, I like to propose one-sentence bills in the state of Missouri, but here's a couple-sentence bill. Now, wiretapping, here's the bill. Wiretapping of any person or organization in the state of Missouri must have an individually and hand-signed court order delineating who is being wiretapped, the start and end dates, not to exceed 24 hours, will be posted with all parties named, including all government employees and associates and companies, including the individual judge, and it must be posted on the internet website for all to see for a period of not less than 10 years, commencing 48 hours before the wiretap begins. Included are all connections, wired and wireless, and remote listening, including all monitoring methods. Failure to do so results in a Class A felony with not less than 10 years in jail for all parties involved on the government side of the equation. What do you think, Frank?
I agree. It sounds good to me, and if you can get somebody to sponsor it and pass it, I think it'd be all the better for it.
You know, it's this wiretapping, this surveillance of the by the government on us is out of control. And I think you said it very, very well in the beginning of this broadcast. They are suspicious of us. They are fearful of us. And exactly what did we do to deserve this? I have said that we need to fire every single politician, every single one. Throw them all out. Don't make any mistakes. Never reelect anyone, regardless of who he or she is, and even if they've done good. We need to throw them all out to make sure we don't make any mistakes. Clean house. Get rid of all of them. Replace them with new people. Anybody would be better than what we have. Anybody is better than these corrupt thieves that we have in government. And it's not just Washington, D.C. It's the state, it's the county governments. Throw everybody out. Let's start over. Jeez. I can't believe it. We are falling down so fast. Frank, there's a... shoot, where is it? We were talking about Flashpoint, the TV series. They're trying to make it seem in young people's minds who watch this that these government-hired assassins are on our side, and call 911 and good will happen. Frank, you said it. If someone calls 911, either someone's going to jail or someone's going to get killed. Isn't that what you said?
That's correct, and that's what happens here. Even if somebody phones, even if somebody sees something suspicious and the neighbor phones the police, that person might have a death wish, because whenever you call them, they come like cocked and loaded and ready to go. They're not there for small talk. They're there. They mean business.
Right. And
police mean business, sir.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, they even picked on Aaron Brummett. I mean, he's a street preacher, and he got arrested for preaching the gospel on the street, public street. Listen, the government and their police minions are at the service of big business. That's what they do. Frank Underhill, got to meet up tonight. Ziggy's 5:30. Dr. Judy Wood's going to be with us. We're going to learn about 9/11. Where did the towers go? We've got some autographed books available if you'd like them. We've got some, and we can get some more. Frank Underhill, thanks so much for being with us. Class, above all, honesty and integrity. What happens next is up to you.